welcome everybody to episode 1 of our first year. I am so thrilled for this, and I am so grateful for what this space really can be. There's a lot of feelings that I think in the world right now, but I'm grateful that one of them is one of like hope and appreciation. So I'm hoping that can be our lens through some of this. But welcome. The intent of this podcast is to provide our new students with the support that they need to thrive as they join our college. I think more importantly than that, the intent is to name barriers that prevent acclimating to college. It's not joining our college and being able to thrive is not a monolith of experience. And we're hoping that this is the space where we can talk about that. Those barriers can depend on identities that you hold, the spaces that you are in, the resources that you have access to, all of which that we talk about in our office all the time, but we wanted to talk about it here, specifically about how that impacts joining in college. For our first one, our mentors have gathered questions from our campus students, and we wanted to talk through them. But I just wanted to start and ask our students here, what is on your mind right now? We are a couple weeks into school, and like I said, I think we are in so many feelings are happening right now, and they are a lot. I wanted to start with you all and just see what is on your mind as we are joining this space right now. Maybe I'll start with G and then pass it on from there.
So what's been on my mind lately has been just like trying to brainstorm ideas for projects, because I'm in a class, motion graphics 3, where you have to create a new project every like 5 weeks. And so it being week 3, I'm just already trying to come up with ideas for like my next project. And last night while I was brainstorming, I had the idea of creating a PSA kind of announcement, except using like cryptids. So like I was thinking like one of those like cliche dog things where it's like, if you're cold, they're cold, let them in. Except it's like, let Mothman into your home. And I'm just like, it's an excuse to draw Mothman. That sounds like a good idea. So I guess I'm already good to go there. But yeah.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Alejandra. Week 3, definitely a challenge. I am a senior, so things are closing up a bit for me faster than usual. Like before my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I could breathe and I can be like, I still have time. I don't have time. So I'm kind of feeling that like senior stress, but I'm happy because, I've taken all the classes, so I actually feel like all of my projects, I know what I'm doing. And I'm working with different brands and stuff. 3 of my classes, I have to pick like 3 different brands. So it's nice to explore myself and see what I learned at Columbia. So putting my major to use, but stressed, but I'm, also, it's nice to be back on campus, I could say. It's really nice.
Hi, I'm Casey, and I guess what is on my mind during week 3 is that, wow, time is going by so fast already. It's really starting now, but although I'm a little stressed, I'm content at the same time because I'm taking classes that I really enjoy, and it's great to be on campus and getting to connect with people, whether that be here at SDI or in my music classes. I'm in this ensemble where it's dedicated to forming a band and creating original music, and I just had a rehearsal last night. And yes, it was a long class from 6:30 to 9, but it was worth it to just be in community with others and do one of the things I love, which is singing, and it's just been really nice.
Thank you all so much for sharing that. There's Oh my goodness, I wrote down so many themes from what you just said. I wanted to just make a couple notes that stood out to me. Um, this feeling of always kind of having to plan for what's next, I think resonated with me, that we've heard from students before, is that we even get things like tips and advice, how to build your resume for your first job, how to plan internship, how to plan for graduating, which is all important. But I think it gives, what I'm hearing in this too is that it creates kind of a tense feeling with our present. And that I think we hear it all the time, right? That time goes by so fast. Oh my goodness, it's week 3. Oh my goodness, it's week 3 of my senior year, or anything like that. This is my 5th year working here, and that to me is just mind blowing. And I think there's something in that. I'm looking forward to really practicing more with you all and the students that we work with to kind of hold both. Like, how do we continue to practice for the future or work towards that, but really have a good relationship with the present? So thank you for bringing that up. And I just also wanted to comment about your comment of how important it is and how deeply meaningful it can be when you're in spaces that bring you joy. Whether that be classes, whether that be your work, any student orgs that you're part of, how important that is, but how necessary it is to have those spaces in your life. And that's what we've heard from students too, is that that is so necessary. And there can be a barrier to that. There can be a barrier to finding that space if the space that you're in isn't affirming to your whole self, or if it is a student org that you wish you could go to, but your second job has you scheduled, and if you skip that second job, you can't pay rent. So all of that, just thank you all so much. So leading into our next part is the questions that you all really asked and took time to dive through from our students. So I'll hand it off.
Yeah, so what we did was a couple weeks ago, we asked the second week of school, we asked students to kind of share their opinions on some questions that G and Casey actually came up with. So a big shout out to them. The first question is, what lingering question do you still have about college that you're too anxious to ask someone? So the main question that, the concern that we picked from the responses were, somebody asked about internships and how we can find internships within our fields, which I think goes along with the big, what are the next steps? My biggest advice is, it took me a while to really get comfortable with myself, to put myself out there, especially with what I was studying. And it kind of sucks because I'm in my senior year and I wish I could have done so much what I'm doing now in the beginning, but I couldn't find the right resources and it was tough. And it's not that it's the school's fault or my fault. It's one of those things that you don't know where direction to start. Like, you don't know where to begin because there's so many things to do. There's so many clubs and like organizations that lead you to that way, but you don't know exactly how to go. For me, one step is I use Handshake. Handshake really helped me a lot. And it took me a while though to set up my account because you need to put in all your classes and stuff, but it's really worth it because after that, my biggest advice is during the months of May and June to go on Handshake because that's when most opportunities open up. And that's how I kind of ended up, working at Columbia. And that's what you add on your internships. And those also kind of internships sometimes too. They can give you a boost on your resume. So yeah, Handshake is a great resource. G or Casey?
I'll go. Okay. So yes, I agree. Handshake. That's actually how I found one of the first internships I applied to last semester, and that's also how I applied for this job. But besides that, you could also go to the Career Center. I know the advisor for internships is Tom Joyce, and he is really good at helping students find their particular internship that they're interested in. I personally didn't go through him, but I will in the future. And again, yeah, I use handshake. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's also like workshops that the Career Center offers. I know my freshman year, I attended the how to prepare for an internship for like freshmen, sophomores. And I remember going up to my teacher being like, hey, so I know class is in between like this workshop that I really want to attend. Is it okay if I like miss class this day to go? And like he allowed me to, which was nice of him. He obviously didn't have to. But yeah, I just you if you're very anxious about like internships and stuff, just breathe. And the Career Center is an amazing resource. They have like resume help and they help you with cover letters, and they're really there to like support and like assist you. So definitely there's like people there to advocate for you and get your internships and prepare for just your career and onward.
Okay, thank you. So the second question was, what do you think about the city life? And we really didn't get any responses that, necessarily go with this question. So we'll just share a point of view. So I've been in Chicago since I was 3. I came from Peru. And I mean, in high school, I took myself out to take the trains and stuff. So I'm a Chicago native. I am very used to the city life. I'm used to every single thing that happens. Like nothing really shocks me at this point. So I guess my biggest advice about it is just be open to it. Like be open to taking the trains, be open to taking the loop. Like it can be scary, if you've never taken a public transportation, this is your first time, like it's okay. Like everybody's anxious. I'm scared sometimes to take the train. Like, and I've been here for a long time. But it's just one of those things that you have to put yourself out there and you have to you create your own opinions and point of views of what location you're going to, it's up to you to see what your zone is, how far you want to go, how far you don't want to go. But it's a great way to feel confident because you're it's like ironic, but it's like you're taking over the city, it's like you in the city, and you have fun and you put yourself out there. But yeah, Casey?
Yeah, I totally agree with putting yourself out there. I am not from Chicago. I only moved here when I started going to Columbia, so that's been like maybe 2 years now. So it took me a while to get accommodated to living in a city and getting around. What actually really helped me was just using this app called Move It. It gives you a bunch of different directions to get wherever you want to go to just explore the city. So I would use that in the beginning until I became more comfortable navigating on my own. And usually I'll just ask a friend or someone to go with me and we'll just explore and, feel safe to have like at least someone there with you. But yeah, you just got to take a chance on it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I didn't like really start taking like the train until like after my senior year of high school. Even though I like lived in the suburbs and I was relatively close to like the city, I just never found the time or like put effort to like going out into the city. And just someone with like really like bad anxiety, I didn't want to wait until like the first day of like college to like experience that first time anxiety. So I pushed myself like the summer before like freshman year to like go out into the city and explore. And I'm glad I did because I met a lot of like friends that I'm like still friends with today by like hanging out in like the Boys Town area. And uh yeah, so definitely put yourself out there, find there's so many like cool places in the city. You have so many museums in the city. As someone who just loves going to museums and enjoying just culture, definitely recommend finding museums. And like obviously museums rotate exhibits like I guess seasonally, so there's always like something new to see. Yeah.
To add on to G, also, if you're a student, you get the special discount. Sometimes it's free. So museums are great. Our next question is, how did your first week go? And a bunch of the responses were exciting and stressful. That's were the two options people shared, and I can relate. My first week was exciting in the sense that I was back on campus, so I got that sense of like normal again, making my way into the buildings, seeing people's faces, like not having to constantly look at my computer. Like that was the biggest thing. I got to see people's eyes in real life, and I'm like, wow. But it was stressful though, again, because it's the first week and you get all of the syllabus and you talk about every single class and how the week's gonna go, and you're just sitting there like, oh, that's a lot. But I missed it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, as much as it did stress me out, I was happy to be in a classroom. I forgot how it was to pay attention, and I love taking notes, and I love just interacting with students, and even introducing myself in class was fun. Like, I was able to say, hi, like, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say my first week went pretty well. It was very odd to be in person too, to see everyone, to be physically in class again, but I missed it too. And it was kind of like, for me, kind of a reunion to see people that I haven't seen in such a long time because we've been on Zoom, especially people in my junior class in music. People that I didn't even think I was close to. We ended up hugging and just like celebrating because we hadn't been able to connect with each other in so long. So it was really nice.
Yeah. My first week like back at school was stressful. I was a little anxious, especially since like one of my classes had like a textbook that was like kind of outdated. And I was just like, wait, how am I supposed to get this book? But the teacher ended up like having like copies available on like PDF on the Canvas site. So it was like, oh, okay, phew. And definitely enjoyed like seeing people again. Um since like my major, animation is like kind of small and tight knit. A lot of those like major classes, you kind of always have kind of the same people around. So it was nice for just be like, hey, hi, how you doing? And then like resonate when it's like, oh no, we both don't know what's going on right now, but we'll help each other out.
And the last question was, what is something you wish you knew before coming to Columbia? This question, I feel like it's more, now us, since we have a bit more experience, a lot of questions were like responses were about the internship aspects as well. So that kind of relates to the first question. But for me, something I wish I knew about Columbia was the buildings and what is in it. Because I spent my entire freshman year and sophomore year in, I think it was 33, and the student center. I had no idea other rooms had lounges and, fun little sofas that I can sit on. So I kept going to the same places over and over again, and it gets boring, and you're already on campus. You're already going to school. You might as well put yourself there and explore. So I definitely recommend go in every building. There's at least one floor in each building that has some type of lounge so you can sit at and take classes, like your Zoom classes or like whatnot. But I really wished I knew more about that. And I also wish I knew about the different organizations and stuff. As much as, there's flyers and things going around, sometimes they don't update them, like the ones in the elevators. So I'm looking at a flyer that was for a meeting 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, well, I'll wait for a new flyer, and then they don't update it. And also on me, like I didn't go and search it up because it's one of those things, like I want to make it, like you want to make it as easy as possible so student doesn't have to go and look for it, because sometimes you don't have time or you forget. That's what happened to me. I would forget a lot. I'm like, oh, I want to go here. And then the next day I'm like, what did I say? Like, had no knowledge of it. So important to put yourself out there. Go on different classes, ask like, hey, is there a floor I can sit on? Like wherever's a vending machine is usually where you can sit and lounge. That's my tip. That's what I wish I knew.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially about like the student orgs. They did they did advertise them, but it was still hard for me to find a lot of information. And sometimes, even on the websites, things weren't updated. So it was hard for me to know if this was still active or not, or just how to get involved in those. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little shy too. So, like you said, I wish I would have put myself out there to like take advantage of all these things that our school has to offer, because now I'm a junior and I'm finally getting out of my shell, but I kind of just wish I'd done it sooner.
For me, one of the things I wish I like knew before coming into Columbia was like, I guess, really budgeting, because I spent a lot of money that first semester, and I sat down and I was just like, where's my money going? And I apparently spent like 2K on takeout that semester, and I'm just like, this is not working. Well, as a commuter student, I was kind of just eating mostly takeout, and so then it was like, yes, time to get to meal prepping and learning how to make what I am buying cheaper at home, and then taking it with me versus, um, but but yeah. So also, I guess like cooking in general is also what I wish I knew before coming to, Columbia, just because that's been a learning process with meal prepping. It's like, oh, and now I gotta learn how to cook these things too. But yeah.
I have to agree with the budgeting aspect. Commute, I would eat takeout food, but the thing that I would spend the most money on was textbooks, because nobody told me there were cheaper websites to get textbooks. So I would get them at the library. And I spent so much money my freshman year on textbooks, and then I found free PDFs online like my sophomore year, and I'm like, I wish someone told me. Like, I look like a fool spending $500 on a book. Like, so budgeting and those type of like small things that obviously they can't tell you because they want to take you to the library to purchase them, like, get them here. But like, go on Google and look up free version or cheap. That's your keywords and it'll pop up, I promise.
I agree with that. Me personally, though, as someone that like naturally has sensitive eyesight and who has to try to limit my screen time, and who's already like an animation major, I kind of need like a copy of the book in my hand, so then I am not like straining my eyes further by having to read it on like from a PDF and stuff. But yeah, definitely. Also, in terms of like textbooks, I know the library has a lot of textbooks on like reserve. And so if you go to the school's library, you can have the workers scan pages of the textbook, so then you don't have to pay for them.
So much of what you're saying is resonating with me. I'm sure it's resonating with students. I feel like we will have so much to talk about in future episodes. Y'all, thank you so much for your investment in this and these conversations. I think we frame these sometimes as tips and tricks, which they definitely are, but it's literally a lens of how to get closer to thriving in college. Even towards the end, how you're talking about getting textbooks and printing, how that, like if you don't have access to that, how much that can just prevent you from actually succeeding in college. So I appreciate that so much. I'm really looking forward to our future talks. So with that note, if everyone, thank you so much for listening to this. Subscribe and like, as the podcasters say, and we will see you next time.